Hey everyone, welcome back to another weather report video. I'm JC, and for people who have been following my page and my work in general, they know that, I'm kind of a climate change guy. I follow this stuff very closely indeed, and I have my own measurements. Now, you've probably seen this screen already if you've watched my previous videos, and this is my temperature record. So every day at 1 o'clock in the morning, I record the temperature. I did explain before why, so I'm not gonna like explain things again and again. If you want to understand exactly what I'm doing, please refer to my previous videos because otherwise I'll just be spending every single video explaining what I did before, and that's a bit tedious. So yeah, this is a temperature record every day. And now that the summer is officially over, I can do a new report. Now, it's interesting because in Japan, actually, September is still a very hot month usually. And like August is the worst, okay? July is pretty bad, but September, especially recently, it's getting worse and worse. So I thought it would be interesting to do a temperature report. Now, I added a few things to this graph here. And the first thing that you'll notice is that, well, let's actually look at the graph first of all. Let me just put it up so my face doesn't cover it. And this is what it looks like. So this blue bar, this blue line actually represents the latest cycle. So this is like right now, okay? This year. And you can ignore that last trail because that's just a placeholder number I put for October, but we can ignore October for now altogether. Let's just focus on like August and September. I think July. Oh yeah, July is the previous cycle. Okay, so August and September, you'll actually notice that in August there is a lot of like blue here that is over 30 degrees, okay? So I mentioned in my last video that one thing we can do with this graph is actually we can calculate how many hot days there were. And I define hot days as any day when the temperature is over 30 or like 30 or above, basically. So we'll look at that in a moment. But the scary part is actually in September. So if you look at September, usually like about the first 10 days of September, this is kind of the leftovers from August, so it's very hot. That's expected. But the thing we see here is actually even this year, well into like 20 days into September, the temperatures were insanely high. Like we reached almost 30 actually at one point, and you can see that this chart here, this is like way over anything that I've seen before in the last 6 or 7 years. So this is wild, man. This is really wild. I mean, I knew that it would get hotter and worse, but I didn't expect anything like that, to be honest. This is much worse than anything. Hey guys, I'm just gonna jump in here with a quick add-on because I forgot to mention it when I recorded the video yesterday. So this graph here shows the monthly averages, okay? So it goes back like 7 years or so. And again, notice the blue line. The blue line is now, okay? Like this is the current cycle that just started at the start of August 2023. And you can see from this graph that both actually August and September are above what is usual. Okay, in fact, September is way above what is normal. And to give you some numbers, actually, how much it's worse, well, if we look at the month of August, then compared to the highest previous peak, the temperature difference is higher by 0.36 degrees Celsius. Now, you might say, well, that's not much. But again, I will bring you back to the example about the human temperature. So, again, if you have a temperature of 36.7, you're basically healthy and fine. But if you have a temperature of 37, which is the difference we're talking about here, you're basically running a fever. And in some cases, you can feel very, very miserable at 37 even. And you need medicine already to get better. So the difference is not much, but it can have very dramatic consequences. And it's exactly the same with our environment out there. It's extremely, extremely fragile and susceptible to tiny changes like that. But even though they're tiny, they do happen in a very, very short amount of time. A couple of years is really nothing, okay? It's really nothing in the world's history. And the rate of change is just out of control right now. But hold on to your hats. If you thought that was bad, let me tell you about September. Because September, compared to the other previous highest peak, which was in 2020, 26.14 degrees Celsius, this year we had 27.88. Okay, so that's a difference of 1.74 degrees Celsius. That's insane. That's insane. All right, let's go back to the video now. And you just go back to the numbers here. At the bottom here, I added, so for the months of July, August, and September, I basically calculated, how many hot days there are. Again, hot days are defined as 30 or above at 1 o'clock in the morning. And in Excel, you can use this formula. You can say count if, so it will only count if the parameter is met. And, you select the range. So that's easy. And you give it a parameter of over 30. Okay, so like above 30. Technically, I could put above 29.9, but okay, let's just go above 30. And it will calculate it for you. It's very easy. So it calculated here 10, and then for the month of August, it was 15, and for the month of September, it was 2. Now, the interesting thing about that actually is that if you go back all the way to the beginning of my record, if you look at September, the month of September, September was always 0, okay? Always. There was not one day over 30. But then this year, we noticed that it's 2, okay? So 2 days. And that's a big increase. But I also made a new graph, and I'll show you if I can find it. There it is. Okay, so this graph here, this one is a new one I made. This is a graph of hot days. Okay, so again, days over 30. This goes back to 2016. Well, maybe I'm not sure, like 2016 is not entirely, well, actually, yeah, it is fair. But in 2016, I started reading at the very, very end of July. Okay, so I don't have any information from the beginning of July, unfortunately. So maybe it's actually a bit more, but maybe not. But the interesting thing is, like, actually in 2017, it was 0. So no days were above 30. That's remarkable. And then unfortunately it goes up and up and up. And at the worst, okay, at the worst case scenario, we had 16. That was in 2020. And that's the peak you see right here. Then it went down again because again it goes up and down, but the overall trend though is up, okay? That's what you have to always remember. It goes up and down, yes, but the overall trend, if you draw a trend line, it always it's always trending up, okay? That's what you have to remember. And eventually now the last cycle, so this year, you see that it's been actually 27 days. 27 days, that's almost an entire month where the temperature has been like 30 or above. That's insane. That's an entire month. We've never had that before. And that's very worrying, okay? So that's what I wanted to do on my video about today, because again, it's kind of an update about the summer. Now the summer is officially over. I mean, I do kind of calculate July, August, and September. Okay, so now September is over. Now I can make my video. But this is crazy, man. And I will continue to do that because I'm curious. But now we're going to go into, kind of the winter months. Usually they're colder. They're not so interesting to follow, but I am still wondering, like, in general, everything is getting hotter. So I I do expect winters to be hotter as well. Like here, we barely see snow in winter, to be honest. I do remember only the very first winter I moved here, there was a lot of snow, like really a lot of snow. It stayed for weeks, which was great because I love snow. But after that, though, barely any snow. It's the temperature here is usually above zero. So if you get above zero, it's very unlikely that you'll get snow, usually. Uh, but yeah, I will continue to do that. But for me, my main interest, my main point of interest is really the summer. So I have to wait until next year. But this is crazy, man. This is crazy. This is just going up and up, and it doesn't look like it's slowing down.